My mother has fancied herself a writer for as long as I can remember. She has kept journals, dating back to junior high school, detailing everything from first periods to first boyfriends, etc. After numerous rejection letters from publishing houses, my mother decided to self-publish her book. She has been asking for family and friends to review her book, and after several months of avoiding the situation, my sister bought it. She was skimming through it while on the phone with me, and nearly immediately advised me against reading it. I did, and was saddened, but not really surprised, to learn that it's filled with not only memories of her growing up, but my first years as well. I am portrayed as both the light of her life and the bane of her existence. I am extra work, I hound her with my large vocabulary, I whine, and I am rude, and that gets in the way of her loving me, and so much more. My mother has always been self-centered, and as a child, I endured a ton of emotional abuse from her. I left home early, and our relationship is still strained, even 20-something years later. Her narcissistic tendencies have continued, impacting her relationships with her grandchildren. Reddit, I am just so done. I don't know how to respond to her request for a book review. She cries victim every time I've tried to tell her the truth about her behavior, and I'm painted as the bad seed. I am so used to her behavior that, while I was saddened by what she wrote, resignation was the overwhelming emotion. She's never going to change. There isn't anything I can do to make her realize she's not destined to be the next Elizabeth Gilbert, and I am done trying. She has the ear of my grandparents, who are also maligned in the book, and my stepdad, all of whom I love dearly. My relationships with them would suffer if I went no contact with my mother. Now for the 7-month update. About a year ago, I wrote about Volume 1 using a throwaway, and now I can't remember the name or find the post. I'm sorry, guys, this will be long, but forgive me. I'm devastated and rambling right now. My mom is a writer. Last year, she self-published her book on Amazon, and basically, it's a collection of journal entries from childhood to present. Book 1 was kid years until I was like 7 or 8. Book 1 detailed her abuse as a child, failed marriages, my birth, growing resentment over having to deal with husband and child. Lovely stuff. It was heartbreaking to read my mother's detailed descriptions of things she would do when she was upset. Withhold attention, affection, snap at me, yell, hide. I was never good enough for my mother, and her journal entries explained how she knew she was engaging in these hurtful behaviors, but did not stop. Unlike Volume 1, which was announced to high heaven, Mom, you're using a pseudonym. Why are you announcing this to the world? This book was published with very little fanfare. In it, I go from a shitty 8-year-old to a shitty 20-year-old. Details are skewed, distorted, twisted, and sometimes they're outright lies. It's not just me. My mother attacks everyone in my family. Her parents, her husband that she is still married to, everyone. It's shocking how much hate and vitriol this woman has, and I'm the main target. She's deeply unhappy with her life and has never been satisfied, so she lashes out in misery. From detailing my lazy eye, to my bitterness over her divorce, to the fact that I was adopted, to glasses, everything is a weapon used against me. She attacked my kids, writing that I had them too young and too many. I have 3, and they are a curse. I love my kids more than anything and dedicated myself to being a better parent than she ever dreamed of being. On most days, I think I was successful. Other days, like today, I just feel awful. I was used to this when I lived with her, but I'm 40 now, mostly out of her reach. This is the lowest of blows. Every feeling I had when I was a kid, every insecurity and fear and feeling of worthlessness is just flooding back, and I can't stand it. Confronting her or even going no contact will play into her status as a professional victim. If I write an unfavorable review or even call her on her nonsense, she'd still play the victim. She doesn't cause problems. In her mind, they happen to her. Help, Reddit, please. Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, "It doesn't sound like her presence in your life has any redeeming qualities. Go no contact and don't look back. It might fit into her narrative of victim, but she's going to do that regardless. You are trying to model healthy relationships for your children. You will never be able to do that 100% until you remove your mother from your life. I'm so sorry this happened." I also suggest therapy because this has to be a mindfuck. Another commenter added, I remember her original post, and I believe the consensus was that she should cut her mother off. But she hasn't followed that advice, and here she is coming back with the exact same problem again. She is looking for a magic wand to make her mother love her. As hard as it might be to swallow, that magic wand does not exist. OP needs to get into therapy and come to terms with the fact that she will never have a positive relationship with her mother, and that it would be best for her and her children to never speak to her again. In response, I said, "You're right. I think I've been chasing the idea that she can change, and with this latest volume, I realize it's impossible. I think it's time to go no contact. Thanks." Another commenter asked, "Are you identified by name in this book? Does the book contain factually incorrect statements about you that could damage your reputation and/or cause you demonstrable financial harm? If so, that's libel. Major grounds for a lawsuit if you suffer provable damages, loss of job, loss of clients if you own a business, etc." I replied. She gave me a pseudonym as well. I thought about that, but other than damaging my reputation with friends of hers and our family, no one would know it's me. Now for the 4-month update. Hi all, I posted this rant about my mother a few months back. I received some wonderful advice from many of you and wanted to give a little update. I've been no contact with her since about a week after that last post. I sent her a brief email detailing the why of it all and said I don't want any contact except in the case of extreme emergency. She never responded. She emailed me once before Christmas to let me know she was mailing something to my kids. I responded only with their email addresses and phone numbers so she could contact them directly. I don't expect to ever heal this rift. There is no magic wand to make her love me, and my mother will never recognize her own faults. I've done some therapy and a ton of soul searching and realized that's okay. I don't need the negative in my life. I'm better off without her. I spoke to my grandparents briefly about the situation, and they were so much more supportive than I could have hoped. My grandma gives me the occasional update, but she's as done as I am. So that's it. No drama, nothing except for a closed chapter in my life and a lot less weight on my back. Much love, and thanks to you all. My kids are nearly grown, 17, 18, and 19. My mom lives in another state, and their contact with her was already limited. They have watched this unfold from the beginning, and while I didn't give them intimate details, they know enough. They've also had personal experience with her. My older daughter confided in her when she was going through a really difficult time. My mother swore to keep her secrets, then promptly turned around and told me everything. They're well aware of how she operates. Thank you for asking, though. Now for a comment. As someone who has also lost parents to their selfishness and lack of love for me, I feel you and am really sorry. You can't be loved by the heartless. Then the original poster replied, "You're right, you can't. But that's not your fault. I'm sorry you went through it too." Am I the idiot for hosting a birthday party that made my HOA lose their minds over black SUVs? The email I just received from HOA. The people in the SUV were regular people who were my friends. This is just weird. Am I supposed to tell those people to rent a Prius the next time around? FYI, this was a very tame party. No loud music. About 6 vehicles in the driveway and 2 on the street, and everyone parked in a decent manner. Email transcription. Dear Redacted, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out regarding an incident that occurred over the weekend during your birthday party. A few of us in the community couldn't help but notice the arrival of 3 blacked-out SUVs, which quite frankly startled and unsettled several of your neighbors. It's really concerning to see such vehicles showing up in our otherwise peaceful, family-oriented neighborhood, especially without any prior notice. As you can imagine, the sight of them raised a lot of questions and caused quite a bit of anxiety. Some residents even thought something more serious was happening. The whole situation was, quite honestly, alarming, and we had no idea how to react. We all understand celebrating special occasions, but in the future, we would appreciate it if you could let us know in advance about any unusual activity. It would certainly help ease the collective nerves of your neighbors, who were left feeling quite uncomfortable by the presence of those vehicles. Please let us know if there's anything you can do to avoid similar concerns going forward. We trust you'll be considerate of the community's feelings moving forward. Best regards, redacted, HOA Vice President. Now for some comments. One commenter suggested, okay, here's what you do. Get more friends. Get everyone to dress in suits, except one guy, maybe two. Load them into the SUVs. Drive to the community like before. Everyone who looks the same quickly exits the vehicles. They look around, point at things. The ones that are different get out after and walk to the door. After they are in the home, everyone else quickly rushes into the home. To which OP replied, "Lemeow." Another commenter said, "Tell her that Donald came to the party and those were his Secret Service agents." OP responded, "Funny enough, one of the guests' name was Donald." When responding to some ideas, OP said, "As much as I would like to be a weenie to them, I would rather be polite and avoid annoying little issues that they will likely come up with if I wasn't." Another commenter asked, "Were they even blacked out, or just your standard suburban family black SUV with slightly tinted rear windows?" OP replied, "They were blacked out, fully tinted, 2 Tahoes and 1 Grand Cherokee. The owners of these vehicles are lovely people. I feel like there are stereotypes related to blacked out vehicles that aren't always true, but still it should be nobody's business." A commenter remarked, "Anything you can do. HOA should change its name to NNA, Nosy Neighbors Association." OP responded, I thought I was doing a lot just by keeping the noise down. I went out to the streets several times to make sure everyone was parked appropriately. Apparently that's not enough." Then another commenter said, "So white SUVs would have been okay, presumably?" OP replied, "I guess. Lol, what horseshit lies in these people's minds, I could never imagine. Probably just stereotypes of black SUV from movies and TV shows they watch." To another commenter, "I think some people take crime TV shows and movies too seriously, while a person in a Corolla might as well be a gang leader. It's absurd." When asked if it was actually a rule, OP said, "Currently, I don't think there are any rules about blacked out vehicles, but I think after this, they might just put it on the list." Now for a mini update. The HOA found this post. I'm just going home now and will post the updated email follow-up they sent me. I think they got the message. So far, 4,000 plus people commented. Now for the full update, 10 hours later. My response to my HOA. It's hard to believe you'd be this cooperative and apologetic without the 6,000 Redditors who weighed in. Let this serve as a clear message to you and any other HOA leaders to stop with the nonsense. If even 1/100th of the people commenting here knew who you insufferable folks are, they'd troll you endlessly and make your so-called inclusive and welcoming neighborhoods a nightmare. Sincerely, a friend of the black SUV owners. Email transcription. Dear Redacted, I'm reaching out after one of our HOA members brought to my attention the Reddit post about the email I sent regarding your birthday party. After reviewing the post and seeing the overwhelming response, I can completely understand why my original message was seen as alarmist, demeaning, and even offensive. I want to publicly apologize to you and anyone else who felt the same. That was never the intention, and I deeply regret how the email was worded. The feedback highlighting how my email was seen as inappropriate and offensive is completely understandable, and I sincerely apologize for that. Our community strives to be inclusive and welcoming, and I recognize that my message did not reflect those values. I also ask, in the interest of privacy, that you kindly refrain from revealing any personal information about our HOA members in your Reddit post, as that could lead to significant privacy issues for individuals in our community. We want to handle this situation responsibly and avoid any further complications. Moving forward, we are committed to fostering a respectful and inclusive neighborhood, and I appreciate your understanding as we work to make this right. Best regards, Redacted. Am I the idiot for calling out the HOA for cutting my internet wire without warning? I live in a house in a gated community with many houses next to each other. Our Spectrum wire that runs from the outside to the box was cut. I'm not sure if they knew it was an internet wire or what, but they cut it. Apparently, it was an eyesore because it was exposed a tiny bit to the box, which makes no sense because there are other wires there also. Not to mention, It's been there for years. We called Spectrum, and they sent out a guy today to check it out. Here's the kicker. Not only did they have someone cut the long, expensive wire, but they also stole it. The Spectrum guy was like, "What the frick? They can't do that. They can't destroy our property." He also said he could have reconnected it even if cut if they hadn't stolen it. It's not even our cable internet, it's Spectrum's. So now we have to wait until Monday so they can bring in a few guys to put a new wire and do the labor to get it from our house to the box. Spectrum is going to charge the HOA the bill. It just doesn't make sense to me. We had no idea they were even doing that to our property. No notifications or anything. They just came and did it. I was at work. The only reason we knew was because my dad heard someone on the roof and the wire was cut. And the guy said he was part of the HOA. Isn't that illegal as frick? Beyond destroying and stealing Spectrum property, they can't come to our property without notifying us and destroy something. If I was home, I would have 100% said, "What the frick are you doing? Get the frick down," if I saw someone on my roof. Spectrum said they will increase our internet speeds and give us a faster and stronger cable when they come to install it on Monday, for the inconvenience of waiting 2 more days. But my war is with the HOA right now because what the frick HOAs. Now for some comments. A commenter asked if the guy was actually from the HOA and suggested filing a police report. The original poster replied that the guy had a commercial electric truck and said his name, so they could only imagine he was at least hired by the HOA because he said the HOA sent him. They doubted he'd give all his information if he was a random thief. Another commenter suggested calling the company if they remembered it, questioning the thought process. The original poster explained they were at work and their dad was there, so they had no idea what the thought process was. A commenter said Spectrum and the cops wouldn't do anything unless the issue persisted. The original poster responded that Spectrum seemed pretty upset and planned to bill the HOA for labor, stolen property, and the cost of new equipment/repair for the homeowner. Spectrum stated that no one, not even the HOA, could touch their wire without calling them first. They would always send a technician to address issues. If it was such an eyesore, Spectrum would have fixed it. Now, for the 2-day update. The last post blew up and was super popular. The HOA indeed cut and admitted to cutting the internet wire. Apparently, there was some error where the guy who cut it wasn't supposed to. He was supposed to inspect and find a solution to make it less of an eyesore. There was a miscommunication somewhere, according to them. After angrily discussing it on the phone, they quickly apologized when the original poster mentioned the FCC and potentially filing a police report. They agreed to pay any fee from Spectrum and got on a 3-way call with Spectrum, greenlighting them to make necessary repairs and send the bill to the HOA. The original poster mentioned to the HOA that this didn't make them whole, considering they'd been 4 days without internet. They asked how the HOA would make them whole from their mistake. The HOA offered 2 months of waived HOA fees as an apology. The original poster agreed, wanting no more problems and just wanting their internet back. Spectrum agreed to prorate the days they were missing internet and would increase their speeds as a gesture of goodwill and because they were a loyal customer. It all worked out in the end. This was their first run-in with the HOA. The original poster felt the HOA knew they messed up because they were put on hold for about 10 minutes before coming back with an apology and being extra nice. Spectrum was scheduled to come the next day to rewire and make necessary repairs. It was dumb because all the HOA had to do was talk to the original poster and they would have called Spectrum. Even Spectrum said it was an easy fix, where all they had to do was move the wire up out of place and not noticeable. Hopefully the situation is done and everyone can move on. This was the first time the HOA messed with their house in any way. Now for a final comment. A downvoted commenter suggested calling the police and FCC straight up, expressing disdain for HOAs. The original poster replied that they didn't want the HOA to hold a personal vendetta against them. They chalked it up to a mistake and got faster internet for free, along with no HOA fees for a couple of months. They preferred to end the situation with everyone happy rather than being petty.